Pass and start streaming. Alright. Alright, I think we're good. Alright, I'm gonna send it to you. Share. Copy. Boom. You're not gonna squeak that toy when I'm doing this interview. Here.
All right, it is sent out.
Alright, cool. And this Hayden. What's up, XVPW? Oh, Jude, worldwide is excited. They say yo 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 yo.
I knew it wouldn't take long for Drew to get in here.
Oh, most definitely not. But yeah, we're gonna start in exactly 4 minutes, everyone. So, yeah. Let me get my water. Starting in 4 minutes. Come on. Alright, cool. Let me share this. Copy. Oh, I'm gonna follow.
So, how's everybody doing tonight?
Alright, so we'll start in 2 minutes. 2 more minutes, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, come on. I was hoping for the 3-minute warning so we could have Rosie and Jamal come out.
One more minute. John Nelson, Chris Ramos, Chloe, Sander, Evan, Joe, there goes, Crimson Wolf, Ian, Justin. Chris. Alright, cool. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we are about to officially start this spontaneous interview with probably one of the best voices I've heard in CAW and Efed. The one, the only, CFT, Clarence Fletcher Townsend.
Got it.
This guy is my GM at 3Dub. So how did you come up with the name Clarence Fletcher Townsend?
Actually, that's actually a funny story, believe it or not. So a buddy of mine and I were talking because I had another call. You've had him here on XVPW Live a few times, Ryan Shaw. And with Ryan Shaw, I wanted a manager for him. And we're talking about names or whatever. And I'm like, what if he had a rich guy? What if he had someone who is basically the complete opposite of him? And they're like, okay, how about this name? How about Clarence Fletcher Townsend? I'm like, what made you come up with that name? And they're like, I don't know. It sticks. I'm like, all right. And like, okay, how about this? I'll shorten it down. I'm CFT. And that's how I became CFT.
I'll probably be more of a dick. No, my name is not CFT. It's Clarence Fletcher Townsend. And that's the only way you're going to address me, by pronouncing all 3 names.
Well, the reason why I did that was because I had a hard time remembering what CFT stood for at first. Because again, it wasn't just me who came up with the name.
Yeah.
And then after a while, I started to remember it. And that's why when I do promo introductions now, I'll be like, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Clarence Fletcher Townsend, but you can call me CFT, the greatest general manager in 3Dub history, the man who fired Chris Harris, the man who surpassed Matt 8-Star, the man who surpassed Russell Franchise, and the man who Drew Gessner has no other choice but to pay.
So we're gonna talk. Of course, we're gonna talk about your time in 3Dub and all that stuff. But the reason why I specifically have you here, and Drew can back me up on it, is because you know a lot about wrestling, independent wrestling, professional wrestling, old gold era, you know. So everybody knows about Attitude and all that stuff, Attitude era, Ruthless. But you and I have something in common. We love old school wrestling. We love, like, well, you said like you're a fan of the territories. I'm a fan of FMW, Old Japan Pro, all that stuff. So we're gonna talk about wrestling. Of course,
Wonderful.
Guys, we're gonna talk about CAW and all that stuff. But for the first 30 minutes, probably I would love to talk about just wrestling with you in general, like the whole entire thing. But of course, people's gonna love to talk about CAW. But yeah, let's talk about favorite territory.
My territory would have to be Mid-Atlantic.
Mid-Atlantic?
Mid-Atlantic.
All right.
Close second would be AWA.
AWA?
I'm counting the AWA.
Yeah.
And
why?
The reason I say Mid-Atlantic is because Mid-Atlantic had one of the best rosters of any of the territories, and ultimately, part of Jim Crockett Promotions.
Yes, correct.
And in the 80s, Mid-Atlantic, and then ultimately their national shows, World Championship Wrestling, before it was WCW, and these national shows, they had some of the best competitors in one roster. We had Dusty Rhodes, Ric Flair, Ole Anderson, Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard, the Midnight Express, the Rock and Roll Express, Magnum TA, if I didn't say it already. And the list just goes on and on. We could be here all day and all night just talking about how wonderful that roster was.
Oh, yeah, because in Mid-Atlantic, you have people from all over coming to this territory, and they can split apart too, but you have best from all different worlds, different promotions coming in.
It was the all-star roster of the time, pretty much.
Basically, yeah. Because a lot of people in the East, even though you can travel from the East, it's fine, but Mid-Atlantic was where it's at because it was easy to travel to.
Right.
Easy much. Like
North
people,
Carolina.
people they don't have to catch a plane ride. No, we'll just drive right there. That's the reason why.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and now for the AWA, the reason I brought them up is if you look at wrestling overall, not just like stories or whatever, AWA had some of the best wrestling you'll ever see anywhere. What I mean by that is, if you go watch any of the Vern Goggen, Nick Bockwinkel matches for the AWA World Title, oh my God, like they're wonderful. And then if you go even later than that, just a few years before they closed, there was a big match on ESPN, Buddy Rose and Doug Summers versus the Midnight Rockers. And that match is 5 stars. It didn't get 5 stars at the time, I don't think, but it deserved it. And it was the match, I don't know if you knew this, it's actually what got the Rockers into the WWF because Pat Patterson had saw that match and put a good word into Vince McMahon. And that's what led to the Rockers getting a WWF contract. And the Midnight Rockers were kind of a big attraction in the late 80s, and the AWA it was their version of the Rock and Roll Express, pretty much, with some Midnight Express elements in there as well. And it was a crazy time. And again, talk about great wrestling. I know I mentioned him a moment ago, Nick Bockwinkel. In my mind, one of the top 10 greatest heels of all time. Nick Bockwinkel, just his vocabulary and just how he articulated things, unbelievable. And anyone in here who's in EFED, if you want to study heel promos, go watch Nick Bockwinkel stuff from like the late 70s and early 80s with him and Bobby Heenan together.
Yes.
That is textbook promo work right there.
Heenan is probably one of the best in heel promos, but people don't give enough credit to Jerry the King.
Jerry Lawler in the Memphis Territories, especially like late 70s, early 80s.
He doesn't get enough credit. But that dude, man, oh my God,
just the way he would pick on Lance Russell, it was just unbelievable. And that's the thing now, we're talking about, the Memphis Territory, and it had some wonderful stuff as well. Something that comes to mind for me is the Jerry Lawler-Terry Funk rivalry and their matches they had. The empty arena match, and then there was this one match where it was probably one of the bloodiest matches I've ever seen. And it's just an unbelievable match. If you haven't seen it, go watch it, everyone. It's on YouTube for free. You don't need Peacock or for you international viewers, the WWE Network. It's there. It is unbelievable. It is just a bloody match, and it was one of the first matches that I know of that got 5 stars, and it was before Dave Meltzer had done The Observer. And another person, I forget who his name is, but he actually gave it 5 stars, and it's considered the first 5-star match in wrestling history.
So let's talk about wrestling families. Were you a Von Erich guy, or did you love the Harts?
Okay, now if we're going to talk about the Von Erichs versus the Harts, if we're talking about wrestling ability alone, you got to go for the Harts.
Yes.
Stu Hart, one of the greatest wrestling trainers that ever existed, and also a great wrestler in his own right. If you go back, you can see stuff of his on YouTube from the 50s and maybe early 60s, and he was actually pretty good. And again, Bret Hart, unbelievable in the ring. I don't think I need to really go into much detail about Bret, because what can I say that most of our listeners don't already know? Same thing goes with Owen Hart. And then on top of that, those weren't the only guys that were trained in the Hart Dungeon. Hopefully I can say his name, Benoit.
Yeah.
Guys like that, they came out of there and unbelievable wrestlers.
They introduced the style that a lot of people... All right. So I don't want to fast forward and talk, but they have that style, that the revival, so people who don't know, the revival, that type of technician style, holds.
No flips,
just flips. And that's what the Hearts, originated that style, and it spread like wildfire, But yeah, now Von Erichs, what do you thought?
Now with the Von Erichs, here's the thing, okay? The Von Erichs were all talented wrestlers in their own right as well. They were going to give the NWA World Title to David Von Erich at one point before he died in, I believe, Japan.
Yeah.
And they ended up giving it to Kerry Von Erich at the David Von Erich Memorial Show. And he didn't hold the NWA World Title for long, and he's not a very noteworthy world champion. But when it comes down to the Von Erichs, I guess what I'm trying to say is they're not as good, and especially if we're talking about the patriarch of the family, compare Fritz Von Erich to Stu Hart. Fritz Von Erich I'm not really a fan of how he kind of sort of exploited the deaths of all of his kids.
Yeah.
And then made a fake Von Erich, Lance Von Erich, in like the late 80s.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but to me that's in bad taste. And on top of that, it's your own kids. Come on. And I mean, I get what he's trying to do here. He's trying to, build them up as these big baby faces who, I mean, through everything, through loss, through all these setbacks, they still persevere. They still do it. Look at my son, Kerry. He became the NWA World Heavyweight Champion and then quickly dropped it, and nobody ever talked about it ever again.
Steve.
But I mean...
M. Accuracy, a.k.a. Steve, a.k.a. M. Accuracy, said Von Erichs were big in Texas, Hearts were in Canada, and had Brett and Owen break out. Yeah. Yeah,
now if we're talking about, like, an international reach, yeah, the Hearts also win that because Brett and Owen became big stars in their own right. I mean, Kerry Von Erich had some time in the WWF and was Intercontinental Champion as the Texas Tornado, but it's not a very noteworthy run besides that. Not many people talk about the Texas Tornado.
Yeah, not many people talk about him, but he was one of those stars that, like, had the look, had the physique, had the talk. He was, like, that young like, imagine if it was, we had Texas Tornado, a.k.a., Kerry
Von Erich.
Yeah, Kerry. Then we had like Brett, Sean, Davey Boy Smith, Dynamite Kid. Like, can you imagine? Like, those are young stars.
Brett and Tornado had a match.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They did.
Yeah, but Brett and Tornado had a match, and Tornado and Perfect. That's actually who I believe Texas Tornado beat for the Intercontinental title was Mr. Perfect.
Yeah, I mean, if he was still alive and still doing it. Can you imagine?
Oh, yeah, he was gone too soon. Most of the Von Erichs were.
Yeah.
They were so talented, and most of them were at the peak of their ability, too. And again, in David's case, this is close to being world champion. In Kerry's case, I mean, he just got cut from the WWF, but I'm sure he could have found something elsewhere. WCW probably could have done something with him. Hell, I could have seen him doing fine in Japan.
Yeah, he had everything.
I mean, he would have had a good career. And the only one left now is Kevin, and Kevin was talented too, don't get me wrong. But I mean, and now he has his kids, I believe,
his
doing
kids are
like stuff in MLW.
Yeah,
in MLW. I've seen them not just in MLW, but mainly MLW, and I think they're pretty good. And it's cool to see that the Von Erich legacy is being carried on that way.
Who do you, so I don't want to talk about the new NWA, but do you have like a favorite NWA champion back in the day?
Harley Race.
Harley Race? You're a big fan of Harley Race?
Harley Race. Harley Race is one of those big, tough-looking SOBs that was so believable in the ring and when he talked that's like, oh my God, I would not want to pick a fight with that guy.
Yes, he definitely did have the look. Hairy chest, too.
Now,
oh, God.
Hairy chest, the big mustache.
You don't have a lot of hairy chest wrestlers now I think about it. Not that many.
And I like how he kind of put Ric Flair over. Because keep in mind, Harley Race is this tough guy who takes on all comers, right?
Yeah.
And the thing is with Harley Race, during the build to Starrcade 83, the first Starrcade, he put a bounty on Ric Flair. It's like, oh, I'm big and tough, but Ric Flair's pissing me off, and I can't do anything about it. I'm going to put a bounty on his ass. $25,000 in cash. Kabuki, Bob Orton, Dick Slater, whoever. Gary Hart, bring your men. Paul Jones, bring your men. And we are going to get Ric Flair. Somebody take the damn money. I want rid of Flair.
Don't you miss old school storylines like that?
Oh,
just
yeah.
putting a bounty on somebody or...
Bounty.
Like, I understand that people get, like recycle stories, but if they just look back on, like, those stories back in the day, because I think that's when it was very kayfabe, but I get it, but more believable, and, like, even the stars back then, even corny or whatever, but those are, like, believable, especially physique-wise and everything. They just,
oh, my God. You look at those guys, and you're like, yeah, I'm not picking a fight with it.
Yeah.
Again, Harley Race is one of them, but Harley Race is the only guy that you see, like, I don't want to fight that guy. I mean, there's a boatload of them from that time. Bill Watts is one that comes to mind, Cowboy Bill Watts.
Yeah.
You look at that guy, and, like, yeah, no. I mean,
even
they kind of had a bit of a beer body, but beer belly, I should say, but both Dick Murdoch and Dusty Rhodes, yeah, neither of them.
The man who invented the freaking clothesline, like the
Stan Hansen.
Stan Hansen, dude, we don't want to pick a fight with him.
Oh no, like Stan Hansen is one of those guys.
He used to put freaking dimes and nickels in his freaking elbow pad.
Yeah, he broke. Wasn't it Bruno Sammartino's neck that he broke?
Yes.
He broke Bruno Sammartino's neck, and Bruno Sammartino was one of the toughest men in wrestling at the time. And Stan Hansen did that to him. I would not want to get in there with Stan Hansen, the lariat. Oh my God. I would be getting insurance on my head.
World Wide Wrestling Drew said, I think the Von Erichs would have fizzled out in the modern day. Terry was almost a jobber out of the end of his run.
I mean, he's not really wrong.
He's not.
I could see him, but I could have seen him fizzling out eventually. The Harts were more of an everlasting family.
Yeah. But let's see. Modern day, no, but let's see. Who do you have a good run with? Especially, I mean, that means he made it to Attitude Era. You know, Attitude, maybe Ruthless. You know?
Attitude Era is kind of when we had the transition from technical wrestling
to entertainment.
To, like, grittier people who, I mean, yes, there's always been wrestlers in certain territories, mainly WWF / WWF even, where there were these big muscular guys who couldn't wrestle to save their lives, but they were there.
Yeah.
I mean, Lion Gonzalez comes to mind. Ahmed comes to mind. Like, they couldn't really wrestle.
Ahmed had so many fucking pads. I mean that's when it was I think it was more of the looks than the character minus the wrestling. Even like, you know.
Well, Vince kind of had to change that during the steroid trial and afterwards because it's like, we gotta fizzle away from the big, buff, muscular, genetic jackhammers and focus on other things. And I mean, we got some good things out of it. Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart got a bigger push. Stone Cold, you know, some good things came out of that.
Yeah. Oh, that's
and
I didn't even see. Guys, you even tell me he was cropped out a little bit. Why didn't you tell me that? I'm trying to make a professional like interview, and you guys just like, let's see. All right, so there we go. This is better, right? No, boom. There we go. That's what I wanted to say. Better. There we go. There we go, guys. Thank you for letting me know that he got cropped out of the stream. All right. Andrew Hull. Andrew Hull says, damn it, CFT, where is the effing egg?
Andrew Miller, welcome to the stream, my friend. Andrew Hall's a guy I've worked with before in some other EFEDs.
Yeah.
And he's one of those guys, before we continue talking about wrestling, he's one of those guys, like, he's a good written promo artist. And, I mean, he always picks on me because he photoshopped the picture of me on Vince McMahon holding the gold egg. Yeah, the gold egg from Survivor Series.
Yeah.
CFT has the gold egg. It was my cover photo for a while. And no, I am not returning that golden egg. Never.
All right. Let's talk about some Japanese stuff. Let's talk about, what do you think of Inokiism? Tell me about Inokiism.
Antonio Inoki is one of those people like, what's going through your mind, man?
Yes.
I mean, what I mean by that is like, okay, I'm going to start off with this. He bought an island from Fidel Castro. We were talking about some of this when we were, but he shot on Muhammad freaking Ali.
So I'm a big fan of Inokiism. I'm somewhat of a big fan of it. And that's where, if you see now, strong style, that serious MMA mixes on wrestling, like that's what technically it is now.
Yeah, and I see kind of what he was going for with certain things.
But when you put Ali in the picture, you're like, Ali's like, wait, what are you doing, buddy?
Well, I mean, what I'm saying, I kind of see what Antonio Inoki was trying to do with some of his things with Inokiism, you know, trying to make wrestling believable in Japan. It's kind of what he was doing.
Yeah.
And it worked, I mean, to an extent. And again, how about the time he shot on the great Antonio? Surely you've seen this footage going around Facebook.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And he did not want to sell. He did not want to sell for this freaking guy.
He did not want to sell for this giant mammoth of a man, so Antonio just made him bleed.
Yeah, like, you're not gonna sell this clothesline? All right, I'm gonna make you bleed.
I'm gonna ask you something. I want to know if you knew this. Did you know Antonio Inoki technically won the WWE Championship.
Oh, of course, yeah.
1978 against Bob Backlund.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it was 78. Him and Bob Backlund had a match in Japan, and he beat Backlund.
Yeah.
You know, again, nobody wants to see Inoki lose to some American they've never seen before.
Of course.
So, Inoki won the title, but on the way out, Bob Backlund won the title back, and WWF at the time never acknowledged it.
No. I got a question.
It's considered a phantom title reign, kind of like Ted DiBiase. Go ahead.
Do you think American casual fans would ever understand Japanese, like, would they ever get into Japanese wrestling? As much as everybody tries, you know, they try. You only get the good marks who watch, like, you know, Japanese.
I think in present day, it may be possible because where, you know, we got people who, like, we got a lot of wrestling fans nowadays, especially the non-WWE fans, who will go and watch a lot of Japan as like an alternative.
Mm-hmm.
So, and like the Bullet Club and stuff, you see Bullet Club shirts here everywhere in America.
Oh, of course, yeah.
I mean, they're just as over here as they are in Japan in some places. You know, I mean, maybe even more so. I mean, Japan, they're over as hell.
Mm-hmm.
But you get my point.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I'm just saying,
do you think people will love Okada if Okada was in WWE and he reached that turning point? Of course, you got Nakamura. We get it.
Well, here's the thing, okay? Just knowing WWE like I know him, say Okada went, I mean, I know he had a little run in, like, Impact, but, like, say he went from, like, you know, like, straight to WWE.
Yeah.
He would have been their next Yoshitatsu.
Yes.
They wouldn't have done anything with him.
Would you think, all right, would you think, of course, we're going to talk about old school, but I just want to, because we understand Inokiism and all that stuff. And
oh, yeah. These are basic fundamental concepts of Japanese wrestling.
Yeah. So, watered down, like, would a man like Okada, the legacy he has in New Japan and all that stuff, if he came to America and you put him on, would people get him? Or would you have to water him down to people like him?
You would probably have to.
Like, I respect Asuka. I respect the hell out of Asuka. They're treating her right. Minus she had the streak from NXT now, but look at her now. She's still there. She's happy, you know, and they're still treating her well. Yeah.
Right.
Why are you dancing? I don't understand that. You know. You know, or like.
I don't know.
She speaks amazing English. You see, she has a damn YouTube channel.
Yeah,
like,
I think they would do with Okada what they've basically done with Nakamura.
Mm-hmm. True.
Pretty much the same thing.
Yeah.
I don't think they would be able to handle it, really. I mean, it's just how they are. You know, they as in WWE.
All right. Antonio Inoki versus Hogan. What are your thoughts on when you saw that match?
Okay, I'm not going to necessarily talk about the match because, believe it or not, I don't think I actually saw that. But I will say this. Antonio Inoki and Hulk Hogan. Now, let's put this down to a different kind of contest. Which one? I mean, you got to keep in mind, Inoki is basically Japan's Hulk Hogan.
Yes. But
so, I mean, you put it down to that. I mean, I pick Inoki, you know, I mean, like, but here in America, like, Hogan may have been a bigger deal in some places than Inoki ever was in Japan in some places. I mean, Hulk Hogan was basically, you know, an icon in this country. I mean, he was in cartoons. He was on MTV, for God's sake, NBC.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was basically in the biggest places in the United States of America. And Antonio Inoki, I mean, he got pretty powerful in Japan as well, that he ran for political office. So,
all right. So outside of, I would say, so there's like, you know, there's independent wrestling now. I totally get it, but would you bring back territories again? Yes, I get it. There's a lot of independent wrestling everywhere from here to there, you know. But if WWE did not exist, then AEW did not exist, and we just still had territories, would you love to bring it back?
They would have died anyway. And what I mean by they would have died anyway is because the territories, as you know, most of the time they would have their own world champion, unless it was like, you know, the NWA world champion. The internet would have killed the territories. Like, it's basically ruined, I don't want to say ruined, but like some ways it's kind of ruined like the wrestling fandom. It would have done the same thing to the territories, no difference. And people would have basically been like, okay, why can't we just have national wrestling? You know, it would have come to that. Ultimately, I think. So I don't think it really makes much of a difference.
because I'm thinking, see, there's one thing amazing about the territories that is you saw different styles. Nobody did not have the same style, which was amazing.
No two territories were the same either.
No, exactly. and I think that's what I loved about when I was watching a lot of territory stuff. It's like, oh, then when so wrestled, he took like a certain spot of move. It's like saying, like, oh man, this guy just did a Canadian Destroyer. All right, I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna show it here.
Super kicks, Canadian Destroyers, Tope Suicidas.
It's like there's a reason why they call it. There's a reason why they call it a suicide dive back in the day, because it was suicidal. Like, damn, how would I do this? That's why you never saw a person do a suicide dive. It's like, damn, like that's pretty serious. But now it's no longer a suicide dive. It's just a dive to me now. Because suicide showed that, yeah, you do it once, that's it.
Now, as I was telling a friend of mine one time, we were talking about me, like, in commentary, per se.
Mm-hmm.
Or, like, could you commentate modern wrestling and, like, get enthusiastic about certain things that you see all the time? Canadian Destroyers and, suicide dives. I'm like, maybe after a little bit, I would just be like, oh, he's going for a... Oh, God, he just went for a damn dive. I mean, it's just... That's one of my things with AEW, and not just AEW, but, like, a lot of wrestling. Yeah. And it's different in each company, but, like, each match, in a lot of ways, sometimes it's, like, the same. Like, they're always going to the outside.
Yeah.
To me, it's like, quit going to the outside. Almost everybody, not almost everybody, but I've seen a hell of a lot of them hit super kicks and Canadian Destroyers and kick out at one.
That's how I am when I see a bunch of HLR matches now. It's like, I get it. I wanted to see something different,
Right.
All right, so back to the territories. Favorite babyface in the territory days?
Dusty Rhodes.
Dusty?
Hands down, Dusty Rhodes. My God, that man could talk thousands of people into an arena. Dusty Rhodes, I mean, my God. I know everyone here has probably seen it, but if you haven't, go watch the Hard Times promo. That will tell you all you need to know about Dusty.
It was funny. Now, like, so you mentioned Dusty and, the Hard Times promo, but who was probably the best talker in the business back then?
Not just wrestlers.
Jim
Cornette.
I respect
Jim
that.
Cornette.
Yeah.
My God. Just go watch his promo after, like, his face turn promo, like, against the original Midnight Express.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got the bandage on his head. He takes the glasses off, and he's just down the freaking reality with these guys. And it's like, oh my God, the intensity that he brings. He's witty. He's intense. He can piss people off. That's what I love about Jim Cornette. He's actually one of CFT's biggest inspirations. I love Jim Cornette.
Paul Mooney, a.k.a. Paul Bear. But Mooney managed a lot of people.
Percy Pringle.
There you go. Exactly. People don't know that was him. And I'm just like, look,
Percy
like,
Pringle.
this guy could... Especially Heyman back in the day, even outside of ECW.
I'll tell you a guy who doesn't get the credit that he deserves for his talking ability from that time, Gary Hart.
Yes, true.
Gary Hart. He and the great Kabuki and the great Muda and Abdullah the Butcher. Oh my God, just listening to him talk. Or Al Perez, just these guys, like some small-time guys that no one else would really care about if they didn't have Playboy Gary Hart with them.
Mm-hmm.
And just this legitimacy that he brought with his clients simply because people hated him, especially in World Class. World Class is like, he was one of the best creative minds as well in World Class at the time.
Yeah.
Like, he was part of, like, booking, and, like, if you go watch the Kayfabe Commentaries fantasy booking with Gary Hart, it's a treat. Like, he kind of gives you an insight into the Texas wrestling stuff that you wouldn't really get anywhere else. And it's like, it's wonderful. It's one of my favorite shoot interviews.
Mm-hmm.
And their fantasy booking with him, Sean Oliver doing that with Gary Hart. It's just unbelievable. Go watch it, people, if you haven't. They just put it on their YouTube channel. It was only available on DVD for a while, but they're now releasing shoots from the vault. You should go check it out. It's unbelievable.
Nice. All right.
And another talker, we mentioned him a moment ago, JJ Dillon, him. But
JJ Dillon Hall.
Bobby Heenan.
Bobby the Brain was, for some reason, I feel like he was just ahead of his time. Like, he knew what he was doing.
Andre the Giant and him were great together. They did this promo before WrestleMania 3 that I can watch that a million times over. You want to talk about the final chapter? I'll be glad to talk about the final chapter. I mean, that promo. And it's like, you think you can beat him, dummy? It can't be done. You know, just that delivery sticks with me with Bobby Heenan. And he was great on color commentary in the WWF. I don't want to talk about his WCW run. But WWF, he was the man on color commentary. Him and Gorilla Monsoon, one of the greatest commentary teams to ever exist.
Mm-hmm.
What were you going to go?
Gorilla Monsoon was actually ahead of it. I enjoyed his work. Commentary.
Gorilla Monsoon kind of gave an insight into wrestling that was unique in his own way. And just like the way he would describe things, like he was very specific. He was what I jokingly called a professor of the human anatomy.
Yeah.
This guy would be like, then like he would talk about what body parts are wearing down in like such specific language that you would basically have to go pull out a medical dictionary to even figure out what the hell he's talking about.
Amazing color. He was good in color. Him and Vince McMahon was amazing. I would love to see.
Now to me, I know you didn't mention it like commentary or anything, but like to me, the GOAT of wrestling commentary, like I'm going to go play by play, besides Jim Ross, is Gordon Solie. Championship Wrestling from Florida. Harley Race comes down the rope with a controversial dive and lands on Jack Briscoe. You know, just this stuff, like, oh my God, that guy was so ahead of his time, like with commentary. He innovated commentary, basically. Now, another one, Lance Russell in Memphis. My God. Hello again, everybody. Lance Russell and Dave Brown.
You know who was good in Ravishing Rick Rude was amazing on commentary.
ECW, yeah, he did like some ECW stuff with Joey Styles.
ECW, Ravishing Rick Rude on commentary. The guy with the puns and everything. I'm just like, wow, why did we... why did
WWF or why have we never had this before? Why did WWF nor WCW put this guy at the desk ever?
I don't know. He was so under... I'm like, what's up? Like, this guy was amazing on commentary. One of my favorites. What do we got over here in the chat? Gary Hart with Terry Funk going after Ric Flair and having great Budaverse thing.
Gary Hart. Oh, yeah. Gary Hart and Terry Funk in '89. Although it led to that terrible Thunderdome cage match at Halloween Havoc.
Oh, my God. When...
Oh, God. Don't talk about it. The promo beforehand is actually good. The Ole Anderson promo, where it's like, I'm going to hold on to this towel like it's glue. You know, it's like, oh my God, it's just one of those unforgettable promos ruined by a terrible match. And then, I don't know if you noticed, like, it caught fire. The cage caught fire at one point in the match.
I was watching a documentary. It was an interesting No, it wasn't a documentary. I'm sorry. It was a podcast of well, I'm a big Corny fan. So Jim Cornette Experience, one of the best.
Jim Cornette Drive-Thru.
Yes. So I got a question. Favorite finishers in the territory days that's not too complicated. Like, I remember crossbody, one of my favorite finishers back then. People are gonna say a lot. I'm pretty sure a lot of people are gonna say DDT, but
figure four.
Figure four, simple.
I mean,
not too complicated.
I don't really count the DDT though as a territorial finish because Jake Roberts invented that, and you know, it was not very common. It was more unique to him at the time. Now everyone does.
I seen a simple running crossbody as a finisher, and I'm like, this is great.
I mean, again, it's not necessarily territory, but look at Hogan. He just did a leg drop.
Mm-hmm.
Elbow drops. Double axe, like axe handles.
Double axe handle was a finisher. One of the great.
Yeah.
I would love to see a finisher in CAW.
Diving headbutt.
Yes.
I mean, simple things like this. Your finishing move, now this is something I've told people before, it does not need to be overly complicated.
No.
It can be a basic move as long as it's believably the end to a match.
I don't think I don't think people nowadays build up to their finish. I see.
They don't know. It's like, get straight to it.
Yeah, back in the day, people would build up to that finish. People would try to attempt their finisher first go of the match. You know, I remember.
Yeah, now it's like.
I remember
right away, right off the bell, ding, ding, ding. Always going for the finish.
I remember I was watching a Ric Flair match. It was actually pretty interesting, and he would keep working on he will do his best to try to get that figure four, like the figure four, right off the bat, figure four. And I'm like, not people do that back in the day, you know. First it's like elbow collar lock up, okay, boom, like, you know, strike, talk stuff. But no, there was like a territory. I forgot who was wrestling, but first attempt, work on getting that figure four in, you know, like, and this guy knew his opponent very well that sooner or later he's gonna get that figure four on you. Like, I'm racing to get that figure four because it made sense.
Or what about the spinning toe hold?
Oh, great freaking move.
Mainly Terry Funk and Dory Funk Jr. You know, those are the two that come to my mind. The Funks with the spinning toe hold, and like, it's like, when is he like? However, sometimes they would go straight for it too. That was something they kind of do. Like, I remember watching a match. I think it was Terry Funk versus somebody, and he was going in there against someone with like an injured ankle or something.
Yeah.
And he went straight for the spinning toe hold. But I mean, but that's different though. If you're trying to sell an injury, I can see you going straight for it.
Oh, of course.
If you're selling it, but if you're just doing it for no rhyme or reason, why?
I remember, and I think this is why I enjoy Inokiism, because if you look at a lot of MMA fighters, their goal in that diamond-shaped looking ring, the cage, I'll just call it the cage, their goal is to end you as quick as possible. Because the longer the match goes, you get tired. Boom, boom, boom. And that's where I enjoy Inokiism. And that's when I bring back that Ric Flair. It's like, I'm going straight for my finisher, you know? And I figure a lot of people don't do that, especially in CAW, you know? So I do it a lot in my matches where I'm like, I want to tell the story of, I'm going to go straight to the finish, but your goal is to block it. You know, I know your finisher. Like, let's say if two guys know each other really, really well, like they had match after match after match. This is the final bout. Tell that story. Like, I know your finisher is the ankle lock, and I know your finisher is the DDT. You know,
I mean, like, I'll use an example of something coming up. You know, Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns at SummerSlam.
Yeah.
These guys have faced each other numerous times. There should be no excuse as to why, you know, like, in the match, they don't try to convey that story. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're trying, like, they know each other. It should be a good match. And if it's supposed to be, like they say it is, the final match, then yeah. I mean, the thing is, I've been disappointed a lot by WWE lately. That Cody Rhodes Hell in a Cell was an exception, but, you know,
yeah. A good example, Gargano versus Adam Cole. When they were both know each other so well that the super kick was about, like, they were like, oh, I'm a super kick. No, that made perfect sense. One of my favorite matches, very underrated. You know, people don't talk about that. You know, but wow. That's what I'm talking about. Is like, if you guys know each other very, very well, there should be no reason why this match should prolong. You know, tell that story of, and that's why I love the territories, because it was so simple back then. It was so freaking simple.
Oh yeah, I mean, and these were such simple concepts back then that now are foreign.
Yo, the spinning.
I mean, it's just.
Noah said, "Yo, the spinning toe hold needs a comeback." Heels had submission finishers, faces had pin finishers, according to Al Snow. Yes, exactly. So that Andrew Ho is actually correct.
What did he say?
He said that heels had submission finishers, faces had pin finishers, according to Al Snow.
Oh yeah.
And that is perfect sense, because
you look at Flair, you know, you had the figure four, and compared to like Dusty Rhodes, who sometimes used like the bionic elbow and other things, you know.
Yeah, that made perfect sense, because heels can prolong a finish, and it tells that I'm not gonna let go, I'm gonna injure you. You know. That's
why I also always say that it should always be the heel that instigates an injury angle.
Yes.
Like, I've seen some places they'll be like, they try to make the face injure a heel, and the heel will be like, I'm gonna sue you. I'm like, no, it
doesn't work that way.
I'm like, no, it don't work that way. The heel has to get heat by injuring the face.
And that's when the face, when he comes back, he gets the biggest pop ever. and that's the story of, I came back. How can I miss you if you're not gone? Injure the damn guy. Build up another guy when the guy is gone. So when the guy comes back, at least you know you have a story to tell.
Yeah. And another thing that pisses me off with modern wrestling and like injuries, they rarely sell freaking injuries anymore.
Oh no,
like legitimately. Like here's the thing, like I've seen, like again, The Miz. Remember he was selling an injury on Raw, and then he went and did that celebrity softball game.
Mm-hmm.
That pissed me off. And I mean things like this, it just pisses me off. Like you're injured. I know that kayfabe isn't what it used to be, but still sell it for God's sake.
Yeah.
You know, you're injured, go all in with it.
Sandman in ECW, eye injury.
The eye patch. Yeah, got the cigarette in his eye.
Yeah.
Or, again, Dusty Rhodes getting the spike in the eye from the Road Warriors.
Mm-hmm.
An eye for an eye. Or Dusty Rhodes, not just for Terry Funk getting the fireball in his eye. You know, a lot of these having to do with eyes, don't they? But I've seen some good broken nose angles too. Like, I mean, Virgil in the like, early 90s did actually a fairly decent broken nose angle.
Yeah, man.
Wrestling needs more broken nose angles.
All right, so
the face mask and stuff.
We got 20 minutes before 8:30.
Yeah, we better get to a call, I'd say.
Yeah, because that's what people want to listen to. Call.
Yeah, because.
All right. When Drew hit you up that you want to be a general manager, what's up? How did that conversation go out?
Well, what happened was when I got into creative, I think the plan at that point was to get rid of Chris's GM, right? You know, or
yeah.
like Chris wanted to go back to action. They didn't have a GM. And I believe it was Chris who threw it out. It's like, why don't we take CFT and make him the GM of 3W? And I remember somebody told Drew and Chaz, like, boss, there's your GM right there, you know? And I think Drew was, I can't speak for Drew. Maybe he was a little lenient, a little skeptical at first, you know, of the idea. Leery is the word I was looking for. And he was kind of, maybe like, we could go for him, but let's explore options, right? And then after a while, like, you're the GM, you bought the contract, fire Chris Harris, you're the man. Like, all right. And that's pretty much how that came about.
And I told, when I told Drew, when we were talking things like last week, I was like, yo, CFT, I'm like, this guy knows wrestling and has a voice. And I tell you, you got gold in the palm of your hand. Because to have a man like you behind 3Dub is like, yo, you should be Booker. Because you know stuff. A lot of people it's like finding a 4-leaf clover in a grass field, you know? Because
yeah, we were in a creative meeting one night. It was on a Facebook call, like a messenger. And James Black happened to be there. And we were talking, and I brought up an angle that, again, the bounty angle. We were talking about Harley Race and Ric Flair and how Dick Slater and Bob Orton Jr. claimed it. And it just kind of threw James off. He's like, holy shit, he knows this.
Yeah. I remember...
you know, just stuff like that.
It's a good example. Here's another good example. James Black, too. He was in XVPW. He was like, I gave him this... we were just talking about his character, and I'm like, you know, this is what I see you as and whatnot. You're from Vegas. You know, you like to bet. Boom. You know, always bet on black.
Bet on black.
Yes, I gave him that. Like, yo, always bet on black. Think of dealer's table. You love to gamble. Boom.
Oh, yeah.
You know? So the ring is your dealer's table. And another one that he loved a lot, and he always brings this up to me, I told him how to hold a belt. I was like, yo, you know, forget the over the shoulder. Don't do over the shoulder. Think of something else how to hold a belt. How do I hold a belt? I'm like, do old school Ric Flair, where he holds it like this. Look, big difference. When he holds it like this, there's class to it. You are a classy guy. You know, you wore the suits. Hold the belt how he normally holds the belt. And he was like, oh my God. There's not that many people who do that in CAW.
The light bulb comes on over his head.
Yeah, because he understood. Yeah. And that's where he had a lot of respect from me. I'm like, yo.
No. While we're talking about CAW with James Black, and since you brought him up, he is one of my personal, like, favorite heels in Efed.
Yeah.
Like, this guy, like, knows how to piss people off.
Yes.
He has pissed me off before.
I told him,
like,
yo,
no joke.
Like, look at old school, like, if his favorite guy is Ric Flair, look at old school Ric Flair guys, you know.
I know, and, like, he does this, too, and I know just from talking to him that he does it.
Yes.
And, like, it's just, like, have you seen his recent promo in 3-Dub where he started OOC, like mental health awareness?
Mental health awareness.
And then he grabs then the dark music starts playing, and he grabs the toy. He's like, remember, people, there are people there to support you. And then he grabs, unless your name is Jack Harmon. I'm like, oh God. I'm like, he went there.
Not many people. It was crazy because nowadays people don't know how to take heat. People don't know. They'll get upset.
I love, like, here's the thing, like, with me, CFT, people are like, I love being hated. I want you to hate me.
That's the whole goal of being a fucking heel.
People get mad. People have tried to, like, back when I was starting this and I was still doing, like, you know, AI versus AI SimFeds and stuff a long time ago, people were trying to blacklist me because of how much heat I was getting.
Yeah, man.
I'm like, blacklist this, you know?
My goal right now is just to be the best babyface, because there is no good natural babyface, and I would love. I can't wait to work. I can't wait to work with other people.
There is one guy I think is a natural babyface, Sander.
I knew you were gonna say that. I know you.
My arch nemesis, my sworn enemy, the man who I roast on nearly a daily basis on Facebook.
See,
Sander.
As much as I love Sander, as much as I love the guy, he needs a lot of homework. He has the natural God-given talent to be a good natural babyface, but
that's what I like about working with Sander is I get the best out of him when we work. I know how to piss Sander cool off. I mean, here's the thing.
But
like,
here's another point, though. But here's another point, though. The better the heel, the better the baby face.
Oh, I mean, yeah. So, I mean, I think it's kind of like one of those things, like I was doing a good job of, you know, pushing him as CFT, and it's like, and then Sander, you know, I got the best out of him. And now, I'll tell you what really, really pissed Sander off, and just a quick story time about Sander. So I was doing commentary for an EFED that I'm no longer a part of, and it was another AI versus AI Fed. And at the time, I was, you know, doing things on and off against Sander.
Yeah.
And so I was thinking, okay, we got, and I don't know, I was just thinking of like different websites because I was doing a project earlier in the day for college, like Ancestry.com. Ancestry.com. Good for hookups and family reunions. And that's how Ancestry.com was born. And then, I'm assuming I can get a little edgy here, right? A little,
get
a little inappropriate. Okay, here's the thing. Yeah, extreme. You know, so I did this promo. One thing, I gotta stand up here for a minute. So I did this promo one time on Sander. Like, you still have Sander Cool in this company and Nora. You know, I hear they're having a hard time making ends meet outside of this company. You know, I heard Nora got a job at a sperm bank, but she got fired later for that day for drinking on the job.
That's very king of you, or ravishing Rick Rude of you.
Yeah, I mean, just stuff like that, like, and just things like this. It pisses Sander off sometimes, and then
because Sander would not know how to come back from that naturally.
No,
because that's when real emotion comes out. Like, why would you say that? And I'm like, well, that's not like it's the natural thing. If Sander, if Sander would respond with a lot of like aggression and just like really think well of his promo, it would have been amazing, probably.
Yeah, as he said on there, he's like, all he said was, "Damn you, CFT."
There it is.
What else can you say?
There's that push right there. It's like,
I mean, what else can you say at that point?
Like if I was Sander and whatnot, I'm like, how dare you disrespect Nora, and how dare you disrespect me, and all that stuff. I'm tired of talking. I want to fight. You know, he would just let it all out.
Then that's when I pull out the card from that Rocky movie. Punch me and I'll sue.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the best part. Like, that's my favorite part of being an EFED manager. Besides the fact you don't really see many of them. So not only am I a rare breed,
like I feel like money angles, like money like people, the opponents who have the money, is like those are good when you have that right baby face, that blue collar. You know, like, well, you know what?
And Sander being this good guy, like, basically came here with nothing. You know?
Yeah. Like, it's like, oh, you want like, if I punch you, I'll sue. Well, you know what? I'm broke anyway, so it doesn't matter. I have nothing else to lose. Bow, bow, you know. And then, wait, you know.
I'll tell you another guy who has the rich guy gimmick, and he is one of my favorites in EFED. Cody Omega.
Oh,
The
yeah.
Ace.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
just his, like, he was doing a promo one time in OEW, and he had, like, this line that really made me laugh, because he was in, like, this nice, like, log cabin, right? Like, with a green screen.
Mm-hmm.
And he's, like, talking about how beautiful the scenery is, like, but you wouldn't know because you're poor. I'm like, just, like,
Yeah.
I'm, like, beautiful.
Rich
Just
money
beautiful.
man gimmicks and versus the blue collar like baby faces. I love that.
Well, CFT's kind of spread to be more than just the, the rich guy.
Yeah.
He's more of the whiny, arrogant, obnoxious piece of crap that everyone wants to punch in the face.
You're Cornette. You're Cornette, basically.
Basically, yes, I'm Efed Cornette.
Yeah, you are the Efed Cornette.
Punch me. You can't. You can't punch me. There's no way in hell you're going to get close to this face before one of my clients drop you on your ass.
Yeah. They're like, you get fired. You won't be able to, like, you have to find yourself in another promotion.
Sander, if you punch me, I will see to it that Nora and you do not get food ever again, because I will dock your pay considerably. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's what you do.
But
and
those tells like amazing stories. Like the realism behind it is amazing.
Oh yeah, it's the realism. It's for sure the realism.
Yeah, like you play video games, but it's all about trying to watch while escaping the fact that you are watching.
This is going to be paraphrasing, but Johnny Valentine once said, "He's like, I can't make you believe wrestling is real, but I can damn sure make you think that I'm real."
Yes, correct.
and that is one of my favorite quotes in wrestling, right there. Johnny Valentine said that, the father of Greg the Hammer Valentine. So I mean, it's just one of those quotes that sticks with you, because it's true.
How does it feel working with Drew?
Drew is one of those guys. He's probably one of my favorite owners I've ever got to work with, besides SBJ. Then I kind of have a soft spot in my heart for SBJ because he found me.
Yeah.
Like 3 years ago, actually, I know this is kind of going off topic here. 3 years ago, there was another guy in CAW Efed at the time, and this is, keep in mind, this is before video promos like King, and it's still mainly written people. But there was a guy here, Eric was his name, that he had to call Michael Blaze, and him and I knew each other from just, working together, and plus we did, I was doing written feds, and I've done those since I was 14.
Oh, wow. How old are you now?
20. I've been here 6 years.
Okay.
So I started, at 14 doing written e-feds, and Eric saw me. He's like, dude, you got to make a call. And I'm like, I've never made a call before. And he's like, you've got to give it a shot. Like, I wasn't good at it either. Just do it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, fine. So that's how Ryan Shaw was born, and that's how I wound up in 2K leagues. And that's also, it's like, I'm going to introduce you to this guy named Brett. He runs HWA. And then after a while, Brett realized, my creative ability, and he started using me as more or less his right-hand man. I was booking the entire HWA West Coast show going down. That was all me. I booked that whole show.
Yeah.
And then Drew kind of gave me a spot after HWA folded. I was still in HWA when I started doing creative work for 3Dub for Drew.
Yeah.
And Drew's one of those guys. He is, and I've asked him if he sees himself as this, but I'm going to tell you how I see Drew Gessner. I'm going to say this publicly. I see Drew Gessner as the Vince McMahon of Efed. This guy is so, and I mean this in a good way, so Drew, don't take any offense to this. I mean this in the nicest way possible. Drew basically so meticulous about things I wouldn't have ever thought about before. This man sees. Like, even me, like, I'll be in the middle of pitching stuff. He's like, whoa, slow down. We need pacing here. I'm like, oh, okay. I'd be like, and just, I was like, whoa, chill. Just basically stuff.
You are most definitely the Jim Cornette. I can see that. Because Corny is hyper, he has a bunch of ideas, blah blah blah, and here comes Vince. Slow down, Cornette. Forget about the territories. It's all about.
He's like, whoa, chill.
I'm a mixture of, because I've been listening to a lot. I read a lot, but I've been listening to a lot too. I'm very much a Paul Heyman, but the fact that I'm Paul Heyman and a Jim Cornette all in one. And whatnot.
Oh yeah,
but
I see myself as more of a Jim Cornette.
Yeah, when it comes to Vince, I'm very Vince-like, as in okay, this is also entertainment. So how can I also please the casuals? Like ECW, Paul Heyman, he knows how to stir things up a little bit. You know, Jim Cornette is basically old school. Let's keep it simple. You know, let's use this, let's use that. You know, let's keep. But when it comes to Vince and me, like the Vince and me is like, how can I always reach the casual? How can I try something new? That's why I did the whole going to different social media platforms, even TikTok now. You know, so I'm Vince like in that. Yes, XVPW has his own TikTok, and I got some TikTok guys too, and I'm like,
Drew, get on it. Where's our TikTok, Drew?
Yeah, and this is where I'm pitching to Drew a lot of things like, Drew, like try this, you know. Like,
yeah, and I don't know if you noticed, we've been trying more like other social media. We got some Instagram guys now.
It's I see you guys making noise, you know, so it's fun.
Yeah, so that kind of helped, you know.
Yeah. All right, man, this is really fun. I really enjoyed this.
By far, hands down, the greatest creative team I've got to work with, and even like combined as a unit.
Is there any other promotions that you like, that you watch and you introduced to yourself to?
I have Ryan Shaw in Southern Smoke Wrestling, SSW, the American Outlaw, Jason Michaels, Money Mike's. They're really good at one thing mainly. I mean, they're good at a lot of things, but like one thing I really like them for is they are good at showing the talent that you really wouldn't see anywhere else.
Correct.
Like they have one of the most unique rosters in EFED. Like, I mean, you got guys like, I'm just thinking of people on top of my head. Ice Age, you know, it's like a stable of like guys, you know, led by some guy named Black Ice, you know, and just these guys, Kay Dizzle and Richard Long, and you know, just these guys that you don't see them anywhere else, but they're cool, you know, like, and they have cool characters.
Do you ever feel
it's cool what they do?
I asked this to Drew too, and he agrees with me, but.
I'm going to take you walking with me. I'm going to plug in my phone and talk to you.
Will there be a point in where you and Drew is going to bump heads and be like, hey, we have to do this, we have to do that, we have to do this, we have to do that? You know, was there ever a time?
If I bump heads with Drew, have I ever bumped heads with Drew? Is that what you're asking?
Have you, or when the time comes and whatnot?
No, I have never butted heads with Drew, and honestly, I respect Drew too much to really get into a heated argument with him. What I mean is I don't really see myself causing too much of a stir over something per se, you know? So I could be like, well, here's what you're saying, but I respectfully disagree. I just have way too much respect for Drew to really get too heated with the guy.
There is a difference between the respect aspect. I get it. But there are times where I bump heads with a couple of people in my roster and be like, guys, this is not going to happen. I'm sorry. It's just not.
Right.
Like laying the foot down and be like, I'm sorry. It's just not going to happen.
And
slow down. Enjoy the journey before we reach the end, you know?
And sometimes from a talent relations perspective, it really sometimes legitimately hurts to tell people no. Because
I feel like in CAW and Efed, people just cannot say no, and I'm like, I'm that type of person that I will say no. Like, no, I'm not.
That's kind of where Drew balances me out. What I mean by that is I'm kind of a yes man to my own admittance, right? And water break there, but like I said, I'm a yes man, but Drew is not afraid to tell people no.
Yeah.
And so basically, if someone needs to be told no, Drew.
Yeah. I mean, it is his promotion, and he has the right to say no.
He does have the final say. I'm just the head of talent relations. I go around. I'm basically Jim Ross behind the scenes. You know, basically going around asking people like, okay, what do you guys have in mind, or like, here's your angle. You know, what can we
do you look
this?
for,
you know?
in getting a character, like, or signing a CAW? What do you look for?
Say that again. What do I look for? I look for someone who has. I'm kind of one of those guys. I'm big on presentation, so I typically am a sucker for the nicer looking calls first and foremost, but promo ability and stuff is also something I really look out for.
Yeah.
If I see someone and I'm scouting them, and hell, this isn't just with Freedom, this is more from my experience in HWA. I kind of want to get the people I know who are going to actually promo for me. Like, I'll basically keep tabs on people's activity elsewhere.
Yeah.
And be like, okay, can I expect this from them? And if I can, then yeah, I'll definitely put in a good word. And I have put in a good word for, quite a few people in 3W, not naming names, but there are people that I've been like, okay, this guy's good. I've seen him, I've worked with him, and he'll promo for you. I say we give him an opportunity,
That's cool.
I mean, again, I'm one of those guys, I believe in opportunity. That's one of my biggest things is the head talent relations. I believe any and everybody can get over if they put in the amount of effort and the amount of activity that is required of them. I think anybody can if they really, really assert themselves. There's the word I'm looking for. If they assert themselves, I think anybody can do it, really.
You are a very nice person.
I'm a very kind-hearted person. I see potential in everybody. I see chicken salad and shit.
For me is anybody can do a CAW, but I feel like you gotta have it, you gotta have the work ethic, and you have to learn how to brand yourself. Now I feel like I've grown to the point of that's where in order to be like signed with XVPW is you got to promo first of all. Right. Work ethic is and you have to learn how to take constructive criticism.
Basically, don't be soft.
Yes. It is a male ego environment, and you gotta learn how to take hits.
And it's one of those things like. I'm not gonna lie. There's been times in my career where I'm like, when someone would say something, even if it was constructive, it'd be like, "Hey, screw you," And I didn't directly say that. But it's like in my head, like, "Hey."
Like, there's reasons why I signed certain people next to XVPW because one, I see future potential. Two is, oh, this guy's actually really good on camera. Three is, okay, there's the people who have it, and there's the people who are going to work to get it, and there's the people where like, you know what? I see something, I'm gonna have you, and you really like it, so you really want to be here, well, you gotta earn it, so you gotta earn it, you have the potential to be it, and this person has it, X is the person who is progressing to get it. I don't have it yet, but I'm progressing to get it.
Well, yeah, that's kind of what I was talking about with, like, people and their potential or whatever.
Yeah.
I'll be like, if I think they could have it, even if they don't have it, and then I'm gonna lean, towards maybe, okay, let's put him against this guy, and see if we can get the best out of him.
And that's kind of what I'm saying. The better the face, the better the heel. The better the heel, the better the face. Work these two together. Yeah, I totally got it.
Right, and now, what's next?
Well, I don't know. I feel like it's 8:30, so I want to close this off, and we can do probably another one sometime next week.
Oh yeah, part 2 or whatever. I'd be more than down. This has been fun, really. I've enjoyed it.
I will. By the way, I'm gonna work with you on you being an XVPW commentary whenever you have time. Like, I want you in my commentary team. You got the fucking voice, bro. I need that. I need that voice in XVPW. I will work. I will find a way. All right, man.
Never say never.
Any plugins you want to do? I know that 3W got a couple shows coming up.
Well, I'll talk here in a moment here. We got, I want to talk about some of my, buddies as well, like SSW, I work for them, mentioned them a moment ago. Big shout out to Southern Smoke Wrestling, Mike Jeter, Jason Michaels, Ragnar, a.k.a. Sleazy Dreams, as he calls himself on Facebook. Great guys to work with. They got a show coming up July 16th, America the Brutal. NEW, another company I've done some work for. Rob Rollman, great work there, and check them out if you haven't. 3W, now this is where the plug's going to get kind of late. So 3W, we got Friday Night Frenzy. It's fight night, and Friday nights are for the boys. I can tell you that right now. And Friday night, fight night, Frenzy. We're going to have that. We got Justin Massacre versus the Portsmouth Punisher, Drew Tanner. We got Wesley Walker versus Mondo Morales. And then we got the Alpha Male Pat Legend versus Drake Frost. We got 3 debuts on that show. Kind of like our secondary show, and that's going to be pretty awesome. And then we got Guaranteed Money coming up, the big pay-per-view, the one that everyone's been looking forward to. And I could go off all day about those matches. But we got the men's Guaranteed Money ladder match. Crimson Wolf, Brooks, Matt 8-Star, Chris Harris. I could go on about all the people in that one. Megastar Mace. Just all the names in that one. And then the main event, the rematch for the World Championship. Jack Harvey and James Black. That's going to be a hell of a match. I know it. And I cannot wait for these shows. And also, every other Tuesday, where we try to aim for Tuesday, sometimes we have to go to other days because production issues, we got Takedown. and you don't want to miss Takedown. Because Takedown, you got to watch Takedown to understand what's going to be going down in these pay-per-views, or you're going to be watching these pay-per-views very, very confused, wondering how this came to be. So if you're not watching Takedown, but you're watching the pay-per-views, you're doing 3-dub wrong, my friend. That's...
Yeah.
But yeah, those are my plugs right there. 3-dub, SSW, NEW. Shout out to you guys. Salute some of the best in the game today.
All right. Thank you, Hayden. And maybe next week, if you're free, we can do another video on the beast.
I'll be free.
All right. That's it. I mean, guys, if you want Hayden as commentary next XVPW, put a comment section down below, man. I'm trying to get you. I will get you. Later, guys. Peace.
See ya.
All right. That was fun, my guy.
Oh, yeah, it was, man. I really enjoyed